All right, here we are. And here's Brian, and he's in Hollywood, as you can tell. Look at that, for God's sake. So thank you, everybody, that signed up for this. This is very exciting. It's the first time we're doing a virtual home tour. As you know, we couldn't do any of the home tours that we're known for last year because of COVID. We're working on how we're going to do the next one, whether it's going to be October, which might be too soon. I don't know. We're not certain. We will definitely have a garden tour in April so far, and then if we don't do something before that with another, we might just do some virtual home tours until next October. We're trying to figure this all out. But tonight we have a fantastic house, which we're going to talk about after I talk about a couple of housekeeping notes, I call them. So I want to first off apologize about last month's hacking. It was very exciting. It was a very exciting opportunity for us to experience hacking at its best. And we really are focusing on making sure that we don't have any problem like that again. I know Brian, who hosts the Zoom, has gotten more secure with that. And then we have a specific list of people. So because the people who came in before just came in and it was a big surprise. Luckily, it was at the end of David's presentation. So tonight we did a cutoff point here. I think we're going to do that in the future. We're definitely going to cut it off. So I encourage everybody. Who's that? Connie, I think something's going on in the background with some people. We can hear everything that's
Connie. Yeah, keep muted, Connie, please.
Connie, be muted. So keep in mind, this is one of the things I was going to say, that we can hear every door opening and husband or wife yelling for dinner or whatever. So keep in mind that we can hear that. So while we're talking and the presentation is on, make sure you're muted so it doesn't interfere. Next, I'm going to talk about next month's, the next presentation is going to be on a Saturday, which is very different for us because we've been on a Wednesday night ever since we started these. So it's going to be on a Saturday at 10 a.m. So feel free to come in to these presentations a half an hour earlier. I'm here half an hour earlier, and then everyone starts coming in, and it's fun. It's fun. So next month is we're going to have the Radio City Music Hall, the Saving Radio City. Hold on one second. Yes, we are. I want to before I say that, though, I want to say that the Historical Society is a nonprofit 501c3, and we raise money. We've been raising money since this organization began in '75 to beautify things in the area. So we've worked on things like the John Burroughs Middle School Garden, Francis Blenz School for Sight Impaired Children, all three fire stations that work this area of Hancock Park. So the one on Melrose and Western, the one on Wilshire near Norton, and the one on 3rd near La Brea. We beautify those gardens. What else? The islands of Wilton. There's islands of Wilton that are at First and Wilton. Used to just be concrete pads, and we contributed money to that. Presently, we're working on the Fallen Officer Memorial Garden at the Wilshire Division Police Station on Venice Boulevard. Lynn McCohen has been keeping us abreast of that, and one of these days, we're all going to be able to go down there and visit that. That segues me into what I think would be a fantastic beautification project for Hancock Park specifically, are the ugly islands that are at the intersection of Beverly and Rossmore. We don't see them because we're just zipping past there, but those islands would be so nice if there was some landscaping there, low landscaping. Maybe you can get contributions. I got to get Cindy Shavato involved in this because I think that would be a great thing for the Historical Society to contribute to, and also Wilshire Country Club and everybody donating money. It'd be great. So it has to come from people, though, who are in Hancock Park who know how to do this stuff, because I don't know how to do this. Anyway, so I just like to be the cheerleader, All right. So the next thing is that, there are some people, we have membership. I said this the last time at the other Zoom presentation. We have membership prices and we have non-member prices. We want as many members as possible to join this organization. We've got about 50 since January 1st of this year, which we're thrilled, 50 new members. So some people accidentally click on the membership price who are not members instead of the non-member price, which is $10 higher in this case. So a member price was $25, the non-member price is $35. So what we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to send you guys, whoever paid 25. I mean, I'm not talking about Joseph Guidera's crowd that's out of the city, by the way. I'm talking about people in the general Hancock Park area. So the ones who are living in LA, we would love you to join, and we're going to send you a link tomorrow to join the membership so you can keep enjoying any Zoom presentation we have at the membership price. All right, so we have that. Now I'll go on to the Radio City. So I saw this Saving Radio City Music Hall presentation that the Los Angeles Historic Theater Foundation did. And I was so impressed because I love Radio City Music Hall. My mom took me there in like 64. I wasn't born yet, but in 64 to see the VIPs with Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton, and the Rockettes. And it was such a vivid memory. And then apparently in the late 70s, it was going downhill, so they said, but we're not certain. They're not certain if it was a deliberate thing because someone wanted to buy the entire structure of that whole block and tear it down and make a nice, aluminum building. So somehow this little girl, she was like 24, 25 at the time. Her name is Rosemary Novellino at the time. Now she's married. Rosemary Novellino Mearns. She was a young ballerina in the ballet corps. In addition to the Rockettes, they had a ballet corps, and she was one of the girls in that. And she got thrust into the limelight by becoming the spokesperson, this little shy kid from New Jersey. And she was instrumental in saving Radio City Music Hall, despite the mayor, despite all the people that wanted to tear it down. And there's all these wonderful clips of local TV shows in New York at the time. And I'm forgetting what they are, and I should have remembered that. But there's one great one with Tom Snyder, who was not local, but national. And it's so good. It's so enjoyable. And it's $10 for members and $15 for non-members. So please come to that. It's going to be on a Saturday. Then, all right, so now I'm going to go on to tonight. 303 North June Street. I met Joseph Guidera in the back of the Phillips house on Rossmore during the Rossmore tour. I saw this guy and we started talking and he said, "Oh, I live in Hancock Park." And I'm like, "Where?" So he told me and I thought, "Oh, I should come and see your house." And I did. And he was so open. I had no idea that he would have all this beautiful stuff in his house. So we've since become friends. He's devoted to the Historical Society. We're going to make him a trustee next year. Everybody vote for Joseph Guidera when you get the ballots. He's a wonderful guy. He's got a beautiful house. He's just offered us his house for the Christmas holiday party, although he didn't know that till I just said this, because he's got a piano in the living room too, and Fluff could play Christmas carols. So we'll talk about that later, Joseph.
Tuned in time.
Anyway, so it's a prime Hancock Park 1927 Mediterranean revival architectural masterpiece, which has been fully renovated, restored, decorated, and enhanced in its present pristine condition by the legendary design firm of Ron Wilson Interiors and its current owner, Joseph Guidera, as his personal residence. This distinctive estate has all the hallmarks of a truly unique and special property. It was built in the 1920s for a direct descendant of a Los Angeles original Spanish land grant holding family. So it was designed for large-scale entertaining and yet with many small, intimate, personal spaces in a grand period revival. He's done a beautiful job on it. And so I'm going to turn it over to him to the recording. Oh, after the recording, this is pre-recorded. After the recording, there's going to be a question and answer with Mr. Guidera.
Well, great. Thank you.
This prime Hancock Park 1927 Mediterranean revival architectural masterpiece has been fully renovated, restored, decorated, and enhanced into pristine 2021 condition by the legendary design firm of Ron Wilson Interiors and its owner, Joseph Guidera, as his personal residence. This distinctive estate has all the hallmarks of a truly unique and special property. Built in the 1920s for a direct descendant of Los Angeles' oldest original Spanish land grant holding families, designed for large-scale entertaining, and yet with many smaller, intimate, personal spaces in a grand period style by noted architects, constructed by a local, well-known builder of most prestigious luxury homes of the era, and now restored to all of its former glory. Patrick J. Watson was born in 1876 to his parents, Colonel James Alexander Watson of Scotland and Maria Dolores Dominguez, on the old Manuel Dominguez Ranch, which encompasses much of the present-day cities of Torrance, Wilmington, Compton, Carson, San Pedro, and the South Bay area of Los Angeles. This was the first Spanish land grant in California from King Carlos of Spain. Patrick Watson was the vice president of the Watson Land Company, and in 1923, he sold his share of the original Rancho property to the Pan American Oil Company, which was a subsidiary of the Doheny Company. In the mid-1920s, Patrick Watson and his wife, Miss Mamie O'Farrell of San Francisco, wanted to move off of the original Rancho property and decided to build a new home for themselves in the fashionable and developing area of Hancock Park. Patrick hired the notable architectural firm of Hunt and Burns to design his new family estate on a large double-access lot located on a prominent corner in the new district of Hancock Park. During this tenure together, Sumner P. Hunt and Silas R. Burns built some of the most beautiful buildings in the Los Angeles area, including the Automobile Club of Southern California headquarters, 1921 to 1923, Children's Hospital, Los Angeles in 1910, the Wilshire E. Bell Clubhouse, 1926 and 27, Los Angeles Public Library, Vermont Square Branch, 1913, McKinley House, Lafayette Park, Los Angeles, 1917, Scripps College, Claremont, 1929, the Los Angeles Tennis Club, 1927, as well as the Wilshire Country Club in 1919. For his new home, Patrick Watson would enlist the services of the Swedish-born master builder, C.J. Nordquist, who had a well-deserved reputation for building some of the grandest homes and public buildings in Los Angeles. Hello, I'm Richard Battaglia. I'm the president of the Windsor Square-Hancock Park Historical Society. Today is March 27th, Saturday, 2021. I'm happy to present our first virtual home tour. Generally, we've been giving home tours for years through October. Because of the pandemic, we've changed our ways a bit. So this is our first virtual home tour, and we're honored to have one of the most beautiful houses in Hancock Park. It's the home of Joseph Guidera. Joseph is right here. Go ahead, Joseph. Introduce yourself.
Hello, Richard. Welcome to my home. Welcome to all the members as well. And I'm anxious to show you my house. So please follow me through the house, and I'll tell you about it.
We are in the living room of this magnificent house, and Joseph is going to take us on an adventure. You know, this is the kind of house that because Joseph's an interior decorator, everything here is a feast for the eyes, and every piece here has a story. So we're going to try to get as many stories in here as possible.
This is a beautiful 18th century Italian walnut inlaid chest of drawers. And I use it mostly for storage, batteries, lots of things. And all the glamorous stuff. Exactly.
And how about this incredible chair? Look at
this
chair.
This is a wonderful little, strange little sled chair.
Is this what your servants take you out to Larchmont Boulevard?
Yeah, I think about maybe my ankle would fit on that seat and nothing else. But it is an old 18th century chair. Some people think it could have been as a sled, and I've had other people tell me that it was actually connected to poles and actually the occupant could be carried
Oh, yeah.
with
And
their all chinoiserie, exactly,
beautiful and leather.
and leather, exactly.
Beautiful moldings here. The as we go into this other part,
Sure.
the grand piano here, which is outstanding. Do you play?
Yes, it's a wonderful old 1919 Kimball parlor grand. So it's a little bit larger than a grand, a little bit smaller than a concert grand. So it's right in between. And it's wonderful. It has all the original mechanisms, and it's tuned every twice a year. So it's always good to go.
Overstrung, I think it's
Overstrung. Is that what it is? And then, of course, there's a wonderful little camel footstool, which is one of my favorite pieces of all. Just so charming and fun and whimsical. It's really one of my favorite pieces.
And the fireplace, is the fireplace original?
Fireplace is original. It is. It's a cast stone, and all original from when the house was built. Beautiful brickwork on the inside. When I moved in and had the house inspected, the inspectors said they had almost never seen beautiful brickwork continuing all the way up the chimney,
Oh, really?
all the way up the 2 stories to the outside.
So the brickwork that we see on the side
Exactly.
goes all the way up.
And they said, you know, such an incredible craftsman, real artist had to have made it, because he knew that when he was doing it, nobody would ever see the inside of a chimney, but he still had the same level of detail in the firebox that everybody sees all the way up the chimney.
Amazing.
So,
Amazing.
and some beautiful old iron torchlight lamps
Those are
flanking
really
the
beautiful.
fireplace.
How old are they?
You know, the 19th century, we believe. They were actually found on a trip to Buenos Aires.
Wow.
So,
which is so appropriate because
right?
we have Astrid Gilberto on the music.
a little background music.
Beautiful.
And again, another wonderful 18th century French Louis XV chest here in the corner, which is also one of my favorite pieces. So this one was actually from Sonny and Cher's house when they lived on a beautiful big home in Bel Air on Carrollwood Street.
Oh, nice.
Back in the 1970s. And then when they divorced and left that house, we were able to get this piece.
Beautiful. And the eggs, were they from Sonny and Cher's?
No, the eggs again were from my Malibu house because it had a lot of great light reflected out of the eggs.
And the bust is of who?
Zeus, I believe.
Zeus, okay.
Don't know a lot about it, just kind of liked the way he looked, and that would be a good place for it. And again, another beautiful antique cellarette here with all sterling silver and the original crystal bottles.
And is this a lock?
It is, exactly. So it would unlock, so the owner could lock it and take the key when he, oh, I think it is unlocked now, and take the key. And then he could only access the alcohol. So that way children or servants or whoever may have been at the time couldn't access the good alcohol, and he would take the key with him. And, I know how to block it now. There it goes.
All right. And then over here, this
Yes.
desk looks like it's from some pirate ship.
Isn't it wonderful? It's 18th century as well, and it's Dutch East Indies, and has all this beautiful brass work and strap work all over it. It's really a lovely piece, and I'm so glad to have it. It kind of mixes in, well with all the different furniture in the house.
Yeah, you have such wonderful pieces. Each piece has an adventure.
Oh, well, thank you.
We should go into the bar area
Yes,
now,
please.
which is pretty incredible.
Was labeled a parlor on the original parlor sunroom, I believe, was the original designation on the plans.
This ceiling is made of leather.
It is. The original barrel shape was here when I bought the house. It's original, but I added a stenciled leather to the ceiling to give it a little bit more character and charm, because it was just kind of a big white space before. So I thought the leather ceiling would really warm up the space for a bar. And of course, added the new bar stools. Everything is something that we reproduce as part of our line of furniture. So
Nice. So you produce these pieces as well as have them in your house.
we do, exactly.
And I wanted you to show us your
Oh, yes.
collection of shakers.
Please.
You've got a collection of vintage martini shakers.
Well, there's a lot of fun
So
shakers. Also, my grandparents had a winery in Cucamonga, which is now Rancho Cucamonga, back in the early 1920s, all through the 70s. So this was their last bottling they made in 1972. And Joe Guidera is my grandfather's name as well, who I was named after. So this was a great bottling of theirs. And my father actually had gone to art school here in Los Angeles and designed the label for him. So it's kind of a special meaning, the bottle. Unfortunately, the wine is not good anymore. It's vinegar. We opened a few of them 5 or 10 years ago, and they had all turned bad. But at least it's a nice memento to have still.
Now look at these martini shakers.
There are a lot of different shapes and sizes, and all kinds of different different ones.
You have the barbell one.
Exactly. The barbell one is great. It's made from during Prohibition. They were trying to be creative and trying to hide some of the gar accoutrements, I guess. So this one was made as a bell, and it's a shaker really. If you unscrew it, and you can mix the cocktail in there, and then you also pour it out the side. So it's a fun little thing.
And the airplane.
And then there's another bell shaker over on the side. So there's all kinds of different styles, and they're fun to collect when you find them over the years.
And Joseph, what about these chairs? These red.
Well, the red chairs are Chinese chair. They're actually kind of a campaign style chair, so they actually do fold and could be moved. I don't know if it was necessarily for a military person, which is kind of the traditional campaign meaning, but the seat comes off, and then this is cloth, and they kind of fold up. So it's kind of a fun thing to be moved. And they're old Chinese. Nobody knows exactly how old. I've had a couple different opinions on it, but at least they think the late 19th century.
We are in the entry hall of Joseph Guidera's beautiful home on June Street, and Joseph's going to tell us about this incredible entrance.
Well, luckily the house, when I got it about 6 or 7 years ago, hadn't been damaged or destroyed too much or modernized. So luckily all of the beautiful cross-cut oak wood paneling was still intact. Nobody had painted over it or anything. So it just needed a little bit of cleaning up and enhancing. And again, we have beautiful hand stenciled beams that are original to the house as well. They're not done by stenciling, they're painted by freehand. So
Those
that's how
freehand?
They're freehand.
Oh my God.
And that's how we knew it was original to the house, because stencils weren't used in the 1920s. It was all done by artists who could paint by freehand at the time.
I love the columns.
All the oak is wonderful. I'll tell you more about the owner in a minute, but his father was Scottish, so I think it had a little bit of a kind of an almost English Tudor feel to the house, to the entry hall at least, maybe as a homage to his father. So there's a lot of beautiful oak, dark oak in the entry hall. Beautiful, again, 18th century French clock with a beautiful, hard to see the face right now with the light on it, but there's the sun and moon dial on the top, and it's a lovely carving from Louis XV style French clock. And also the wall brackets here that have the painted Chinese jars on it are also 18th century Italian. They're parcel gilt and painted wall brackets. So come on in, I'll show you the rest of the way. This is a wonderful, that was the old heating system for the house, and it has all of the different room labels on it. And it was the way that they could turn on the old gravity heaters. So there was one gravity heater for each of those buttons down in the basement, so you could heat the different rooms separately. And I just thought it'd be fun to leave it as part of the old house management system, and then of course I put a new iPad above it that controls the lighting and the alarm and the cameras and everything else is controlled through the iPad. So it's kind of the old home management system and the new home management system.
Beautiful. Let's go into what are you calling this?
Yeah, this was the original loggia, and it was an outdoor space. When the house was built, there were doors here and windows, and it had been converted into an indoor room in the 1970s, 60s and 70s, I believe. So I'm lucky they did that, because as you come into the room, you'll be able to see, again, more beautiful hand-painted work on the ceiling. And it is original as well to when the house was built. So luckily, the prior owner enclosed the space with the sliding French metal doors, which were, not particularly pleasing anymore to the eye. So I had these wood doors made to match the rest of the doors of the house. Wonderful. But because it was enclosed in the 60s, I believe it saved all of the beautiful painting on the ceiling.
Absolutely. How about the light fixtures? Were they original?
No, these are all new. These were all things that I had reproduced when I moved into the house. There's a wonderful batch elder tile on the wall,
right here,
which is a fun display of all the different tile colors. And it also has kind of a castle scene in the middle, which is kind of a large batch elder tile plate.
Yeah, batch elder in other areas.
Yeah, all the fireplaces in the house have the original batch elder hearths and surrounds, which were in great condition. None of them have cracked or anything over the years. So really, really fortunate.
And then this room over here, we're calling the...
Yes, this is kind of the library or TV room, what I call it now. Just across the hall from the loggia. And again, it was not like this when I got it. There was no opening here, just a small doorway. And this had been turned into a 1970s Formica countertop kitchen. And so this was being used as a kitchen for the house. When the house was built originally, this was, though, a maid's bedroom, which I guess was kind of central to the middle of the house, close to the front door, close to the kitchen. So it was a bedroom and bath.
And this floor is so unusual.
Well, thank you.
This is a leather floor, everybody. Not many people have leather floors.
A leather tile floor.
And ceilings. So tell us about this light fixture here. It's so unusual.
Well, this was a wonderful, strange light fixture that I just found at a wonderful shop on La Brea, which unfortunately isn't there any longer. But it was all repurposed commercial industrial equipment. And when I bought it, the man said this was from a gear from a factory in Ohio. And then he, through his wonderful creative eye and art, made a chandelier out of it. Again, with recycled glass from old windows. And then has some kind of either bicycle chain or motorcycle chain or some kind of mechanical chain on the top. So it's really a fun piece of recycled old industrial equipment.
Joseph, we forgot to talk about this couple interesting pieces here. What is this?
Yes, this is a wonderful old Hawaiian fishing spear. And this one probably we don't think was ever used because it was in such good condition when we got it. But it is old, and probably it was a ceremonial Hawaiian fishing spear. At the end of it, the bill is from a swordfish. And the rest of it is wood and feathers. And it would be used to catch fish in tide pools or in the shallow waters where you could, stab, throw it and try to catch a fish that way. And there's finger holes on the bill of it as well, where you'd be able to kind of pull the fish out, and it would kind of catch on the fish as well.
Amazing. Also, there's textures all over this place.
Yeah, the wall is a wonderful kind of a grass cloth material that we put over it. It's very warm. It goes on like a wallpaper, so it's flat against the wall. And then we just trimmed it with a rope cord to finish off the edge. And it really gives a nice texture and feel to the room without being too fussy or anything like that.
Beautifully with the leather floor.
Yeah, the colors go together. And then, of course, on the wall, I have these wonderful pair of bronze sconces that are just so much fun. It was a wonderful antique shop up in Carmel named Luciano's. It was owned by a man named Luciano Tempo, who was a wonderful Italian guy who owned the shop for years and years, and we got these from his shop in Carmel.
Very nice. And there's another mask over here.
Yeah, and so there's a wonderful, another long, tall, skinny, it's an African mask. I believe they're called, and my pronunciation may be off, but it's a Dogon, D-O-G-O-N, Dogon mask. And it's either from the area of Mali, M-A-L-I, but it was believed to be it's an old one. And I was told that the mask always represented some type of an animal figure, and they thought this would have been a rabbit, possibly because of the ears, but it also looked like some kind of maybe a gazelle or something like that is what I thought. But I was told that they represented rabbit ears, and so the eyes would go down here. The face, this would be the face of the mask, and it would strap on the head of the wearer, and then the rest of this would all be up in the air. And the idea was that it would, at least what I was told, if this is correct, was that the height of it would draw your eye upward to the sky and to where the gods lived. So please come this way to the dining room.
Let's go to the dining room.
Exactly.
Oh, now, Joseph, this room is incredible.
Well, thank you. It's mostly all original. The only thing I've added is the gold texture to the ceiling. There was some painting when I got the house to the ceiling, but I believe it was not original because this was done with stencils, and so I think it was probably done at a later time. And it was kind of dark, and the paint was fading, and I didn't really want to restore it because I knew it was not original to the house. So I added a gold texture to the ceiling to kind of brighten the room a little bit because it was kind of a dark mahogany colored ceiling. So that's really the only thing I've changed in the room, of course, besides the furnishings and all of that.
Now, these sconces on the wall
Yeah,
are just beautiful.
They're wonderful. They're an old iron and crystal sconce. They were just for candles, and then I had them wired for electricity when I moved here.
Amazing.
And used them for lighting also.
Now, this piece, I hear, has some story to it.
Well, it's a beautiful console table, French. They think early 19th century, and has the original marble top, which is unusual as well for it. And then it also has a beautiful Venetian mirror above it. And both of these pieces were actually from, again, the Sonny and Cher house on Carrollwood back in the early 1970s. And when Sonny and Cher divorced, they were getting rid of a lot of the furniture they acquired for that house. And Cher was moving into a very modern beach house in Malibu and didn't have a need for any of these antique pieces. So Ron, who was my partner, was her decorator, and he traded her some of these old pieces for some of the new contemporary furniture that he was having made for her new house.
Very nice.
And again, a wonderful big bronze chandelier that is from Luciano, the same antique store in Carmel. Another one of his creations. He was really just such a wonderful artist and sculptor, so much more than just an antique store. He actually created wonderful things, and this is one of them.
Beautiful. I love this. What are you calling this?
Cashpo or anything. It is. It's English, but with the Chinese decoration on it to be, made in the Chinese style, and it's also inlaid with all mother of pearl pieces on the side. So it's really a pretty old piece, and it always makes such a nice a centerpiece with flowers, and you can change them out for the season, of course, and have poinsettias in the winter for Christmas, and pink and purple flowers for springtime. So
nice. And Joseph, your China
yes.
cabinet has some fascinating china in it that we're going to hear all about.
Well, yes, it's a beautiful 18th century French cabinet as well. Again, Louis XV style. But inside, there's some wonderful old pieces of Floridonica is the name of the pattern. Floridonica. And it was made by Royal Dalton. And it has a very interesting story when it was originally made. There's no two pieces in an entire set that are the same, that have the same flower. So if you have a set of 300 pieces, each plate has 300 different flowers on it. So it was made. There's a strange story. If I believe the history was, it was made for Catherine the Great of Russia, the first set, by the King of Denmark as a gift and a way of kind of softening relations between Denmark and Russia at the time. However, when the King of Denmark commissioned it, it took over 8 years for them to make one set for Catherine the Great. And unfortunately, she had passed away before the set was ever finished. So it was never, it was never sent to Russia. And so ever since then, Royal Dalton has now reproduced the set for special occasions. The King of Denmark, of course, has a set, and every year, or every successive king, when they marry, or queen, when they marry, have a set given to them by the people of Denmark. Yeah. And so it's also been reproduced, for years, and is available, for sale. And they're just kind of wonderful and unique.
I hear a certain American author has a liking for this China pattern.
Yes, they're quite pricey now to replace them, and so I don't use them at all. I only use them for display, and none of the plates are round. They all have points on them, so they're very easy to chip and crack when you're washing them or using them, or even if you bang them together accidentally, they will chip and crack. So I don't use them, but Danielle Steele, who lives in San Francisco, and I've heard a story that she collects the Floridonica china, and not just collects it, but she uses it daily as her daily china service. And she has a standing order, or had a standing order, with Bonhams and Butterfields, the auction house. Whenever pieces of this would come up for auction, she would always bid to a certain amount, and they just knew that they would always be able to sell it to her because she had a standing bid for all these pieces, because her pieces damage and get broken as she uses them on a daily basis.
Amazing. It's quite a story here.
Yeah, they're a fun pattern. They're also beautiful because each one is different.
We're now going into the kitchen of Joseph's house. This is gorgeous.
Come on in. So when I got the house, this had been broken up into 4 separate rooms. So I wanted to open it all up and make it more of a contemporary kind of functioning kitchen for today's living, and for a modern family to live in. So these 4 small rooms were all broken up and made one large space. We're kind of standing now in the breakfast room, which was again a separate room. There was a wall kind of here where we're standing, and I put the columns in. But there was just a small doorway here to get into the breakfast room, which again, though, has a lovely view of the garden and the pool area. And then again, as we come this way, this was a butler's pantry, and this was another whole separate room, again with 4 walls and just a doorway to get into the other space.
This area. What about these on the wall?
Oh, they're just wonderful old. The brackets are Italian painted. I think 19th century is what I've been told, and they're just a fun, wonderful color, something bright and cheery for the breakfast room. And then on the other wall, actually, there is 2 pieces of interesting Chinese porcelain, and this piece and this piece go together. It's this is kind of the inside piece for the larger serving tray.
And this would be for what?
So it would be for meats. And so it has the holes in it so that the meat would be able to drip into the bottom tray without becoming soggy, and it's kind of sitting in its own juices. So it was and it's again 19th century, or some of you said 18th century Chinese export porcelain ware.
I love your mix of the old pieces with some new stuff as well.
Right, there's a lot. The chairs are contemporary, new. They're, Crate and Barrel actually makes them, so they're fun to mix in. But the table is actually an old English oak table, so you can mix and match things as you like, as long as everything kind of goes together and fits nicely. Yeah, this is a wonderful
How did
Cart.
the color to match the kitchen so well?
completely, it was all just by chance. I had chosen the paint color for the cabinets and had it done, and the kitchen was finished. And I was looking for a table or something to as an island. I didn't want another solid built-in island cabinetry here, so I wanted something different. And I happened to be at the store where I found the wonderful light fixture in the hallway on La Brea. And again, it's a cart from the
Mechanics?
from Cleveland, they believe, or somewhere in Ohio, and they thought it came from the auto industry because it's just a really heavy built cart, and the top is adjustable. You can crank it, and it was just fun. It happened to be the same color.
And how about that clock?
Oh, it's a wonderful old Black Forest German clock, old-fashioned cuckoo clock, and just has a wonderful big kind of gargoyle face on the bottom with a open mouth, and just thought all the carvings were wonderful and fun, kind of a contrast to all the white and green in here to have that dark clock up there.
And I love how you have the plates on display, the china
Yeah.
on display.
So when I was designing the kitchen, I didn't want to have a soffit in the kitchen and have the cabinets die into a soffit, but we have very tall, almost 12-foot ceilings in here. So I knew the tops of the cabinets would be relatively useless for storage because you'd have to get up on a ladder every time you wanted something. So I wanted to make another set of cabinetry above the functional cabinets that would be more of display space for some of the things we've collected over the years and all. So it's really just for a decorative space, but it kind of finishes off the kitchen, I think, very well, and draws your eye up to take advantage of all this wonderful height we have.
Such beautiful.
And again, now this is the original kitchen of the house, this space here. And again, there's a wall here with just a doorway to get in. So it was a small kitchen, but of course, back when the house was built, the owners of the house, I don't think ever used their kitchen. They had staff to do all their cooking.
And you have, this is not an old.
No, this is brand new. From when I moved in, I had my Iron Man make it, a pot rack, and we liked the little rooster cutouts, and it was just kind of a fun piece with a big old kind of antique looking chain. But we had it made to fit the island that we installed here as well.
So nice. And I love these pieces here.
Oh, there's some fun old. Great. They're old, just old porcelains. They were jars, for rice, flour, coffee, the French. Yeah, exactly. And the wonderful old English, I think it was English at least, thermometer, exactly. And still works actually pretty well.
Oh yeah, 70.
Right. It's about 70 in the house, so it works.
Joke around about this.
The large cake
I'm tempted to joke
display.
around about this, how easy it is to lift this off to get at a piece of cake.
Well, maybe it's intentional. It makes it difficult.
Is this for when you're dieting?
Right. You don't want it to be too easy. You don't want it to be too easy. But come on this way, and I'll show you. There's a back staircase here that was kind of the staff hallway, and there's a stairway down to the basement. There's a full California basement as well for that. Excuse me, a full, not a California basement, but a full basement here as well. And then this also then goes up to the upstairs. I put a wonderful old Japanese, I believe. I always thought it may have been Chinese, but somebody told me it was a Japanese. It's 2 panels of a screen. So it had maybe another 8 or 9 pieces to it, but these are the only 2 pieces that I had. And as you can see, there's a seam in the center where I put them together and framed it. But it's decorated with jade and other stones, and really a lovely, lovely piece.
To the right, you have the.
Yes, and again, I wanted to leave a little bit of the old house intact, even though, of course, that, as you can see, it doesn't work or anything. But this was the old intercom system for the home, and these were 2 buttons that you could transfer a call to the telephone room. There's only one telephone in the whole house, and the calls would come in there, but you could transfer a call from the telephone room to one of the 3 extensions in the house. This was the extension for the servants and the staff here in the staff hall, and there was one by the master bedroom, and then one in the guest bedrooms. So it was kind of a fun thing to keep. And I love the old mother of pearl buttons that are original as well.
So Joseph, we are once again in the entryway with this beautiful cross-cut oak, and I want to tell everybody about it and also up the stairs.
Well, it really has a wonderful history. The house, it was built in 1927 by Patrick Watson, and he is the grandson of Manuel Dominguez, who was one of the first Spanish land grant families in California. Actually, I believe it was the first Spanish land grant family in California. His grandfather was a Spanish general and also escorted Junipero Serra along 3 of the mission building projects here in California. So, and he was also a Spanish general for, I believe, something like maybe 30 years. So it was a very long-term job, and it was all through Mexico. He was a general, and then came up here to Alta California at the time, what it was called. So as payment for all of his years of service, the King of Spain gave him the first land grant in the Los Angeles area, and it was the Rancho San Pedro area. So that was all of Carson, Compton, Torrance, Del Amo. That was all the original rancho. So when Patrick built this house, he, of course, had inherited part of the rancho through his mother, and she had 5 sisters. So they were starting to kind of break up the original rancho properties, and each of the sisters were getting their portion, and Patrick and his brother had a large portion. And they also discovered oil on the property in the 20s. So Patrick and his brother decided to move off the rancho property, and they leased all of it to the Doheny Company, and or it was an arm of the Doheny Company. And Patrick and his brother decided to build 2 houses in Hancock Park. Patrick built this one, and his brother built a house over on Lorraine Street. So as part of a little bit of an homage to his grandfather, kind of the root of all of the family's wealth and influence in California, he did a stained glass window in the entry hall that was depicting Mission San Juan Capistrano, which some people say is one of the prettiest missions made. And that was all one of the missions that his father was the military escort for Junipero Serra as it was being built. So he did this beautiful window. I believe it was done by Judson Glass, but I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it was. And then also, as we kind of pan over to the stairs as well, there's another stained glass feature on the other large window, which kind of depicts a Spanish galleon, which is representative for his mother's family, the Dominguez family. And then also next to that is a Scottish coat of arms that was his father's coat of arms, being from Scotland. So it was a lot of family memorabilia in the house that Patrick wanted to kind of honor his family ancestry when he built this house. As we move up the stairs, I have a Flemish tapestry that I put up here on one wall, and then also a large Dutch leather painted screen on the other wall, and it's a scene depicting the assassination of Julius Caesar. So it's kind of a wonderful, big, imposing piece, and it was a great wall for it. And then again, we carry through more of the hand-painted ceiling decoration on the beams here in the entry hall.
Those chairs, by the way, when we go downstairs,
Yeah,
those chairs are amazing. They're pressed leather.
they're pressed leather again, Portuguese, and there's another pair up here we might pass in the hallway as we go to the bedroom. We want to come this way down the first hall. There's a beautiful, this is actually one of the oldest pieces in the house that I have. It's a 17th century Flemish box. The stand is new. We had the stand made to accommodate it, but it was a travel box that would be used for traveling and having the owner's personal items in it. And it's all small drawers with beautiful fabric. The fabric may be newer than 17th century, it may be 18th century, but it's still very old. But the box itself, we believe, is a 17th century Dutch box. Oh, it's beautiful, and a lot of the thread is the silver and gold thread as well, and of course it tarnishes and darkens over the years. But and all of the of course bright colors of the silk thread have faded, but you can still see the snake around the palm tree and all is really really beautiful details.
Such a great table to put it.
Right, so we've tried to make something that at least looked like it would fit for a new item. but come on down the hall. It'll show you the rest.
Wonderful.
There's another wonderful. This was the second intercom system. So this was for the two guest rooms down here. And again, I just left that. Don't have the earpiece, unfortunately, for it, but coming into the study.
I think this is what Joseph's calling the study, and it would be hard to study and concentrate in here, I got to tell you, because of all the beautiful pieces.
Well, thank you. It's an office, a little upstairs TV room. There's a big TV in the cabinet, which is another 18th century French Louis the 15th style cabinet. Wonderful old kind of Art Deco French leather chairs that have the old French, still the French leather on them, which is great.
Legs on that side.
Yeah,
are just
there's a wonderful little side table over there with open carved legs, and it's called a bird cage leg because the leg is open carving, and it's all one solid piece of wood that is carved out. No, wood.
Oh, it's wood.
All wood. Yeah, exactly. No, it's all wood, and yeah, they're interesting, and you can't make a mistake when you're carving it because then the whole leg is ruined. But it's a fun detail.
No, I know we haven't gone into the bathrooms, but as I understand, all these floors,
Yes.
tile is all original.
It is. So this is one of the guest bathrooms, and I left this one pretty much original to the house, just refreshened everything. But when I got the house, this was covered by linoleum on the floor. And when we were starting the demolition, we pulled up the linoleum and found this beautiful herringbone tile, again, with kind of a dark green trim around the edge. And we pulled up the linoleum, scraped off the glue and cleaned it up. And the original tiles were in such great shape. Not one was cracked or broken or anything. So we left them. And then I did a little bit of a color scheme around that with kind of a green wallpaper, and did everything with the Carrara marble to kind of look kind of period for the house, and didn't change things too much in this bathroom.
Joseph, this is a wonderful piece.
Tell
us about that.
It's just a wild, kind of whimsical, strange piece. Don't know a lot about it. It was something we found at the flea market in France, and it's a wall bracket of some kind, obviously meant to hold a candle. And it's just an old carving, we think, probably from a remnant of either a statue that was maybe broken over the years, and the arm was then applied to the wall plate. But don't know too much about it, but it was just kind of a wonderful old piece. And the back of it is all kind of eaten up and corroded and stuff. And so you can tell it's a very old piece of wood. Again, probably 17th century or 18th century. And it's maybe an arm from a saint or something like that may have been broken at some point and then made with a back plate. And again, there's some wonderful candlesticks, old candlesticks that were on each side of the desk here that I had made into lamps. They're also 18th century. They were made to go up against a wall, I believe, because the backside of the candlesticks are not finished, and the base is not finished all the way around. It's flat on the back. So they were either flanking a wall or a piece of cabinetry or something like that. And then I had them made into lamps for the room. And just some other wonderful old things, a wonderful old drum that I had converted to a table with a piece of glass. And there's some wonderful, the painting on it in the old kind of horsehair drum top, or could be goat skin, but I believe it's probably horsehair. And a wonderful old Ushak carpet on the floor that has a lot of red and blue in it. And there's a great old ship painting behind the desk that I like very much. It's a lot of fun. And just some of my favorite pieces are in this room. So I made it cozy. I watch TV up here at night before I go to bed, and it's a cozy space to spend the evening.
I noticed there's a little card from Cher down there,
yes,
thanking for the flowers.
A lot of memorabilia of Cher. She was a great longtime client for, 19 houses and probably over 40 years. So,
and this
is just a little note down there. Oh no, this was a good friend of ours from San Francisco. His name was Kenneth, who passed away a few years ago, and I just was going through and kind of came across it not too long ago and thought, oh, I should put this out. So, and just other things collected over the years in here. And while we're up here at the study, come out to the terrace and see the view of the garden from up here. It's really a lovely spot. So from here, you can really see the whole garden and property. The guest house is over there on the right that has the striped awnings that kind of match. And then there's the pool here, which is new, and all of the garden was redesigned when I moved in. And the only two things that are original to the house are the koi pond in the distance and the little cabana shelter in the distance were both here when I bought the house. And they were on the original plans when the house was built. But everything else was changed and I installed when I moved in.
The railing around the koi pond is to keep out animals.
Exactly. So the railing around the koi pond is also so you don't fall in at night sometimes, but more exactly. But more importantly, it's to keep the koi safe so animals and critters and even birds cannot land next to the pond and snatch the koi out.
So we're on the second floor, and now we're going to the master bedroom.
Yes. Come down the hall and I'll show you the master. No. Chairs.
Joseph, tell us about these chairs.
Well, there's another pair of chairs here as we passed on the stairway coming up. They're they're Portuguese, we believe, with a stenciled leather again on the seat in the back, and just some wonderful, high relief carvings that are really, really lovely. And again, this is another. This is Italian. It's an old piece, 17th century. Although I believe that some pieces may have been replaced along the bottom and the foot that were structural, that may have had damage to it. So we believe the cabinet portion is 17th century, but the legs may have been repaired in the 18th or 19th century. So it's not 100% 17th century, but still a wonderful piece nonetheless. So come on down the hall, I'll show you the rest. We have a wonderful 18th century clock here as well.
It's French?
French, and 1796 is when it was made, and still in great working condition, and it was a wonderful chime. So this one I actually still use. And then again up here, there's this is a new piece that I installed. There was a doorway here at the end of the hallway that went into an upstairs laundry room, and I'll show you what that became afterward. But this is a piece of East Indian carved stone. Could have been a window to a building of some type, and then I put a piece of mirror behind it to kind of reflect some of the light as you come down the hall. And it was just something to look at as you came down the hall before you come into the primary bedroom.
Tell us about these pieces.
Yeah, there's a wonderful kind of an art piece here on the wall that is pieces of canvas. It's painted canvas, and really it was a wonderful artist friend of mine out in Palm Springs made this for me. And I had it at a house in Palm Springs that I had, and when I sold that house, I decided to bring it here. But it's really just painter's rags, old pieces of painter's rags and cloths that he kind of wove together and put on chicken wire. Really cost nothing, but just shows kind of what a creative, artistic, wonderful person he was, and the way that he matched the colors and everything. And as he got down to the bottom, about the bottom 20%, we ran out of painter's cloths. So then he actually had to make some painter's cloths to match the rest of it to finish. And then there's a wonderful big black and white painting of, hard to see probably with the glare, but it's actually the stairway of Coco Chanel's shop in Paris. And it's a mirrored staircase. So you can kind of make out part of it. And she had it designed that way on purpose so she could sit upstairs and watch as the clients were downstairs shopping, or when she could see their reaction of the customers without her being right there to be there in person, but she could sit upstairs and watch it through the reflections of the mirror, and the customers wouldn't know she was watching, so she could get a real reaction, a true reaction of what her customers were thinking. But come on in. This is the original primary bedroom This was the wife's bedroom when the house was built, I believe. At least that's the way it was labeled on the plans. There's a wonderful big, again, 18th century French cabinet, buffet decor that I use as a TV cabinet. And another wonderful old French chaise lounge in the corner that I use as well. Sometimes it's a great spot to nap on. And all the walls are upholstered in here as well, which make the room seem very, very soft and very quiet when you sleep at night. It drowns out the noise, and it's just a very comforting feeling with the upholstered walls. This is a beautiful selenite coffee table that we make, and we used to install one in most of our projects that we did for clients, but the selenite is becoming harder and harder to find these pieces of this size anymore. They all come from a dry riverbed in Utah, and they come out in these big chunks. It's hard to get them this big anymore where they're so flat and so thick. So we make these with a travertine base and then these 3 big pieces of selenite, and it really kind of catches the light at all times of the day, and it's really kind of a wonderful, wonderful side table.
And your lamp is it Indian?
Well, you know, I think it's maybe a North African figure. Could be, you know, Egyptian or something. Not sure exactly what they are, but they always kind of reminded me a little bit of no, I forgot the name of the movie. Peter O'Toole and
Oh, you're talking about what is it? Oh my God!
right,
Lawrence of Arabia.
Lawrence of Arabia. Thank you. And the other.
Now, Joseph, tell us about this because I love tramp.
Well, they're wonderful. It's kind of done in the style of an old kind of Portuguese, you know, desk or cabinet, but it's actually just a small music box. And sometimes it's referred to as tramp art, or sometimes it was made by, you know, hobos over the, you know, what were called hobos at the time, going from place to place, and they would sell, you know, their little handy wares as they were, you know, going to different people's houses or different places, and they could, you know, trade something that they made for a meal or some help or whatever. So it was called tramp art over the course of time. But it's just a wonderful little cabinet.
And you have this great back shelter fireplace
Yes.
in the bedroom.
Yes, thankfully the tiles were all intact. The mantle is new. I had the mantle made for the space because unfortunately the original mantle wasn't here any longer. So I made something that looked that I thought looked more appropriate for the room.
And
then
your horn hand
the andirons and the fire tools. Exactly, they're fun.
so politically incorrect.
Oh well, I think though they've fallen off the deer, and they're not you know, taken from the deer anymore.
No
So they're
harmed.
they're naturally
The making of this.
exactly. No, they fall off naturally every few years, I believe. And then there's a wonderful. I forgot to show you a beautiful old Dutch chest again. Again, this is one of the other oldest things in the house, 17th century, and just it's a leather chest with wonderful, you know, studs on it and great big handles for carrying on the sides. And it really, again, a new stand I had made just to raise it up a little bit so you don't trip over it. But it's a wonderful old 17th century piece as well.
Can we take a peek?
Oh, of
at
course,
the,
please.
Dressing room.
We pass another. This is 18th century, a French Louis XV style dresser drawers. And come on in. And as you come into the dressing room, you can take a peek at the bathroom. This was the upstairs laundry room that I showed you as we were coming in from the hallway where that door was with the Indian stone carving. This is what the laundry room became. It now is the master bathroom. And there's now a shower with skylight and large soaking tub and chandelier. Kind of want to do a little bit of an Art Deco kind of theme in here.
Beautiful. You're seeing yourself in the mirror.
So much mirror everywhere. And then I just come around the corner, we'll come into the dressing room.
Now Joseph is going to take us on a
Wow.
tour of his dressing.
And again, there's a little bit of a height difference in the floor, so be careful as you come in. But this space was the original bathroom and closet for the primary bedroom, and I just then opened up the two rooms and made it all now dressing room. One of the cute features, though, or interesting things, was the old fur safe that was Mrs. Watson's safe, and it was just for furs. And so there's, you know, it was a rack where you would hang your furs, and all lined with cedar, and it was meant just for the safekeeping of furs and clothing. So that was fun, and that was original to the house.
I know that people are going to ask about the furs that are currently.
Well, they're a couple of my mothers, my grandmothers, so they're just a collection of things that when we were cleaning out my parents' house, I didn't want to get rid of them, and I thought, oh, I have a fur safe, so why not? I'll take them and put them in here for now. So
now tell us. We're going to talk about.
Well, and then this.
Tell us the story about that.
It's kind of a wonderful. It's a leather bust, and it was from Hermes in the 1970s. We bought it at the flea market in France for a client, and we'd shown a picture of it to the wife of the client, and she loved it and approved it and said, "Oh yeah, please get it." And so when we bought it and then brought it back home, and we were installing the furniture in the house, you know, a year or two later, we decided to put it in the husband's dressing room, which was a huge dressing room, maybe two or three times the size. It's exactly a man's dressing room, so you could even put a tie on it or a shirt or something if you wanted to, you know, play with it. But the husband, once he saw it and then called us a day later and said, you know, I love everything in the house, but he said that mannequin is a little scary to me. He said, would you mind taking it out of the house? And I said, oh no, we'll be happy to take it back. And so then I've kept it ever. No, I don't think so. We have to we have an NDA with that client. But lovely clients. So
I think you need some more pants and
well,
shoes.
you know, when I moved here, I kind of consolidated 3 different houses, so it's really a collection of clothes from 3 houses. So that's why it's so crowded.
Yes, I understand.
And of course, different sizes of things because we all go up and down, especially with COVID, with our sizes. So that's why there's a lot.
Well, this is quite a dressing room.
Well, thank you. Well, great. Now I'd like to invite you to come outside of the garden and see the outdoor space. As we go out the doors here, kind of greeted straight ahead by a wonderful big iron sculpture that was actually here at the house when I got the home, and I was told it was done by one of the previous homeowners in the 1970s. So as you come out, you'll see that straight ahead, and then as we move through the garden, we'll see the new pool area, which I had designed and wanted it to be something that felt kind of in keeping with the house. I didn't want a new modern swimming pool because I wanted to keep kind of the old Mediterranean, early California feel of the garden. So I chose tiles that were kind of representative of what could have been here at the time. Of course, the pool is much larger and more contemporary than anything that would have been built back then, but the style of it, I believe, still evocative of the right era. And there's hand-painted tiles on the trim around the edge of the pool that kind of replicate some of the tiles that were done in the 20s when the house was made. And then as we move down from the pool area, we take a step down to the koi pond and the cabana, which were the 2 original features of the house when it was built. And over to the right of the koi pond is a new outdoor kitchen, barbecue, and dining area that I designed as well. So there's a refrigerator and a cooktop and barbecue and sink out there. So we really can have a complete kind of outdoor pool barbecue day without even having to come into the house very much. So that was part of the reason for designing the garden this way. And then, of course, also there's the large hedge that you'll see as you come out, which helps to block off some of the noise from the street because this is a corner lot. So the hedge was one of the things I installed on the first day I closed escrow on the house, so that way the hedge would have time to grow the time I finished the construction and moved in. So the hedge has really been a great help over all this time. And then as we go into the cabana area by the pool, again, as I said, the structure was original. to when the house was built, but I added new tile flooring, which again was representative of what was on the floor originally when the house was built, because luckily the original floor plans and architectural plans show the tile that the architect had intended. So I found something that was similar, if not the same as that, and then furnished it with outdoor furniture, and it's a great space to sit and relax and watch the evening go by.
So beautiful. Joseph, this house is spectacular, and I know all of our members are going to really enjoy it.
Well, thank you, Richard, for coming today. I appreciate you coming through and having the chance to show it to the members, and hope you enjoyed looking at the garden, the pool area. And until next time,
Great.
hope to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you once again for showing us your house.
No, you're welcome. It's my pleasure.
I want to thank Jolene Crofts for filming this all and
Yes,
directing
wonderful.
us, and I appreciate it so much.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Richard, and take care. Have a good day.
Richard, you're muted.
Unmute. There we go. I did it. All right. That was very nice. I hope everyone loved that, because it was great. And we had such great fun filming it too, and not tripping. I was thinking I was going to trip backwards on that steps going out in the end. So we are going to do a question and answer thing with Joseph. Does anyone have any questions? Don't be afraid.
You can also write your questions in the chat area if you like.
Hi,
course,
it's Mark.
yes.
It's Mark Garris. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mark, we can hear you. What
Oh,
questions do you have?
Well, I'm wondering what's the history of that fabulous front door? Is that original to the house, or does that come from a property in Europe, Spain, somewhere? What is the history of that front door?
It's original to the house. It was drawn on the original architectural plans by the architect, and the only thing I added or changed was the interior doorknob had been changed over the years, so it was kind of a 1970s thing. So I changed it to something that looked a little more appropriate.
What is the wood that it's made of?
I assume it's oak as well, because it matches the rest of the interior, so I assume it's oak.
Yeah, great. Fabulous, spectacular. Thank you so much for letting us tour your incredible house.
And Mark is a contractor, from what I understand, right? A home builder?
No, I have a lot of home builder clients, but I'm a CPA.
Oh, there's some connection there. Okay. All right. Sorry. We have another question from Clint Lore. Clint is asking, do you plan to make any further changes to your house? Joseph, do you plan on making any other changes to your house? Is there anything that needs to be changed there?
No, not really. It was kind of, I did everything the way I kind of wanted to do it at the beginning. And before I moved in, everything was in place and everything was done. It looked just like it did in the video the day I moved in. So I'm happy with the way it is and no plans to change anything.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, that house is a real treat. What other questions do we have? Don't be shy. Come on, ask him anything. And he's right on the corner of Beverly and June, which is, Beverly is a really busy street. So when you're in that house, that you don't hear a sound from outside.
Oh, this is Ginger Barnard. How long did it take to do the remodel and renovation?
Well, the actual, from the time I literally closed escrow to when I moved in was about a year and a half, but I had a few months being held up with some of the permits and plans and things. So I think the actual construction was about a year, but it was kind of top to bottom. We had to do all the mechanicals, all the electrical system. We still had the old cloth wrapped wires with the old fuses in the house, and all the plumbing, of course, all the heating ducts, all had to be redone. Of course, all the water pipes and everything as well. So it was, there's a lot inside the walls that had to be done too.
Chris Blakely wants to know if you found any speakeasy in that.
No, not at all. There's no bar in the house. That's why I had to have one installed.
And there's plenty of room for alcohol in all those shakers. They're so unusual. Really nice.
Just, social feature to have people over. That's all it is.
And all the silver is so polished beautifully. What else do we have? Who else has questions? Come on, please ask Joseph. He'll answer anything. Jolene, you did a great job filming. You should do a great job filming this thing. I'm telling you, it was the first time filming this for us, and we are going to do some more. If anyone has a house that you think we would love to tour, I think people have been hungry for these home tours. So we would love to hear from anybody that thinks they want to have their house on tour. It would just go like this. It's and I think I'll be a little bit more relaxed the next time. I think it was a little stiff in this.
There are two more questions. Judy Rydell, Margaret Shireen wants to know if there's a wine cellar in your house, Joseph.
No, there wasn't, unfortunately. There was a large basement, but there was a room in the basement that was for silver and china storage. That was all concrete block walls, kind of a room within the basement, and a big metal door. And I assumed it was for silverware and that type of thing to keep it secure. But I always thought that would have been a perfect wine room. But no, I haven't done that yet. So maybe I will add one more thing at some point. I would put a wine cellar in that room. That would be the only thing I would change or add.
You didn't take us into the basement. We feel like you do enough. I didn't even know there was a...
And Chris Lakin wants to know a little bit more about the window restoration that was
luckily,
needed.
The windows weren't in bad shape for the most part. We saved all the original glass, of course, and all the windows facing the street and everything. So there was only a couple areas where we did have to add some new windows in the kitchen area, and the door going out to the pool area is a new door. But the windows flanking the doors are old. We repurposed the original windows, and we're able to use all of the old window frames and the old original glass.
I think there was another question. Were you surprised? Judy Rydell wants to know, were you surprised by any construction obstacles?
No, I mean, because we kind of do this a lot and do this kind of for a living, whether not just for myself, but for our clients, we run into a lot of problems and issues on most of our jobs. So nothing is that surprising anymore. The only thing that maybe was a little unusual was when I was trying to update the electrical service for the house, because it had the old 100 amp service from when the house was built. And at that time, it came from Beverly Boulevard to the house. And to increase the electrical service, we installed a 400 amp panel. It couldn't be brought from Beverly Boulevard anymore, so we had to trench down June Street from the neighboring, where the closest vault was on June Street, and then bring in the electrical service that way. So that was another unexpected delay and expense in dealing with DWP. To have a new service installed is nothing I would recommend for anybody to do. It was a long process.
But was there conduit in the walls that you could pull wire through, or did you have to actually open up the walls?
My electrician was able to use some conduit, some of the conduit that was existing, but he said some of it was, just in such bad condition that they had to, poke holes every, few feet and were able to, and had to pull new conduit. We tried to leave as much of the original plaster in place because it's so much nicer than, replacing everything with drywall. So most of the house we were able to leave the walls intact and just had to patch. But there were a few places where he was able to use some of the old original conduit, but most of it had to all be pulled new wires.
I know that Chris Blakely also just said that it was very generous of you to take us into the more private rooms.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. My pleasure.
Sure. So I love that that leather bust. I love that story. We're not going to say who the star was.
No, we don't have many clients that have NDAs, but that's the only one where we do have an NDA with. So we can't say that one.
Who else has questions for Mr. Guidera?
I have a question for Joseph. So Joseph, again, thank you. I'll echo everyone. Fabulous house. I'm curious to know if you are still finding history about the house out, or does your search continue to bring up new
It does. And I
treasures?
haven't found anything lately about the house. I did a lot of research right at the beginning during the construction process and all. And when anybody from the Dominguez family passes away, I'm sorry, I'll back up a second. The Cal State Dominguez Hills, which is down in Long Beach, is built on some of the Dominguez family property. So, and that was named for the Dominguez family. So in the library, they have a special Dominguez family room. And so the room is filled with memorabilia of the family. So whenever anybody in the Dominguez family or Watson family or any of the other names after the daughters had remarried passes away, and there's photographs or letters that the immediate family doesn't want, they donate all the paperwork to that library. And so that's where I found most of the research when I was looking into the house. They have a librarian who just specializes in that one room in the Dominguez family. So he was able to tell me a lot about the family. And there's actually a book that was also published, I think, in the 80s about the family. So a lot of information was from that book as well.
This house is loaded with history. Anthony, are you in Los Angeles?
I am, yes.
You have to join the Historical Society.
I do. Thank you.
Once. Send him a link to the membership thing. What else? Who else has questions? Oh, wait, there might be some. Is there? I think there's something in the chat here. No? There's
Judy Rydell also wants to know, with seemingly no cost obstacles on this house, how can other restorers estimate costs for projects? Is there a spreadsheet for estimates?
Well, I mean, I think every project has a budget and has budgetary constraints. So it just depends on what can actually be done. And luckily, I did this construction work 6 or 7 years ago. So even costs on our other projects for clients in the last 5 years, have risen dramatically, just in the cost of raw materials and cost of wood and cost of supplies for the plumber and everything. So everything really has gone up dramatically, we've noticed, in the last 2 years. So it is harder to estimate things. We used to easily, we have a lot of experience with doing home renovations, so it was easier to always kind of ballpark figure things. But now you can't do it anymore because the materials cost is just the big question. I mean, even big sheets of plywood have tripled in price, so it's hard to estimate exactly what the things will cost when you actually go to buy them. So you do have to get really hard estimates from individual contractors now and try to estimate that way. Before, I would always give a kind of square footage number to a client and say, it's X amount of dollars per square foot to renovate the house into, kind of completely finished standards, but it's hard to do that anymore.
Rick Evans questions if it was filmed with an iPhone camera, and would it be better to be filmed with a camera with a wide lens? And the answer is yes, Rick. I filmed it with my iPhone camera. And unfortunately, I was not able to find a good camera in a timely manner in order to do that. But I agree with you. Would have been much better to see the details with a wider lens. And I'll try to find a camera for next time.
Yes.
And
yep.
Christopher Blakely says, I've heard that supply chain problems have created delays in getting appliances and parts.
Yeah, I've heard the same too. We haven't placed any orders for appliances lately or anything, so I don't know it firsthand. But I've heard the same thing from other contractors and all that are having issues. Even replacement parts for older items that are there should be stock in the warehouses are having issues trying to find replacement parts for things. So everything kind of got bottlenecked with COVID, and certain things shut down, and certain things were still working. But I think it's just going to take us another few months or 6 months to get everything kind of working again and flowing the way it was before.
I'd like to say, Joseph, you're magnificent. Your home is magnificent. Everyone involved in this evening's putting things together has done a wonderful job, and we got through the evening with no hacking.
Exactly. Over time, this was a good event. Great event.
Thank God. If there's no other questions, we will. If there's any more questions for Joseph, we will we'll stop this. But it was so nice, and I want to thank Joseph. Is there another question there, Jolene?
No, there were some comments about iPhone.
I want to thank Mr. Joseph Guidera, and he's become so important to the Historical Society, and we appreciate that. And maybe we'll see him around Christmas again. We don't know. We're gonna massage this thing here. Anyway, it's good. Thank you, Joseph, for this. Anthony, you can join the Historical Society. It's Windsor Square-Hancock-Park.com. And we're going to put you to work doing histories of historic houses. And what else? I think that's it. Thank you, Jolene, for hosting this. Thank you, Brian. I know you're not here. Thank you, Jolene's son, who was on there. And we just had a great time. I appreciate this. Thank you all. And thank you to who came, and paid. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.